What do Selena Gomez, Breaking Benjamin, and Miley Cyrus all have in common? Our next guest, Senior Vice President of A&R and Head of Creative at the Disney Music Group, Mio Vukovic. We discuss the unique synergies that Disney can offer you as an artist, as well as what specific elements are in his criteria for signing artists, and much, much more. You can't afford to miss this episode. Right now. This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Hi, we're coming at you live from MuseExpo here in Hollywood, California at the Roosevelt Hotel. We managed to catch up with the Executive Vice President of Creative at Walt Disney Music Company, Mio Vukovic. Mio, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this.
I appreciate it.
You've been in A&R in many capacities over the years. And, now that you're at Disney, I'm wondering, can you talk about what you see as probably the most dramatic changes that have occurred in the A&R world as far as your experience goes?
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, when I started, I had an independent label, and, it was, at the time, I never really even knew that people made money in the music. I didn't know how people made money. I just was putting out records because that's what I wanted to do. And my first job was at Geffen Records, and I worked for David Geffen for 10 years. And the whole time I was there, I felt very aware that it was a special place and that it was kind of a special time. And I think everybody who worked during that period at Geffen in the late 80s kind of almost has the same feeling when we see each other. And, David was very geared towards the artist, and it didn't really matter what the artist's contract said. They would always make at least 3 or 4 records, It was just a really interesting and special time. And then as the business was changing and evolving, it felt like real artists weren't getting signed anymore for a while. And that's when I took a break and for 10 years managed writers and producers, because I felt like the label is not really signing artists anymore. And making that investment in artists over 2, 3, 4 records, that it was going to swing towards more writer-producers kind of being the game. And that's what I'd focused on before I went to Disney.
Which it did.
Yeah.
Now, in that capacity of managing writers and producers, you must have dealt with all A&R departments in that particular kind of job. So you must have seen the different kinds of policies evolve. Mm-hmm. And obviously you were right in your assessment. It did evolve into the writer-producer becoming much more prominent in terms of the record-making process.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that 10 years a lot because for the first time I was like Switzerland. I got to deal with everybody, instead of it's our team and, it's us against everyone else. And I loved my relationship with the clients and also just working with all the A&R people. And a lot of them were newer and were just starting to learn how to make records, and so I get to have a rapport with other A&R people, which I hadn't had. I enjoyed that, but it made me, I didn't feel like I wanted to go back into a label again. I really enjoyed that role as a manager and being able to, roll around town making deals. That was fun.
Well, that's interesting. Then if that was the case, what was the inspiration or what made you ultimately take, the top job at a very big visible label?
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I got to know them, and I realized that it wasn't like another label. You know, people don't realize that at Disney, you know, there are so many platforms. We have ESPN and ABC and, you know, Lucas and Marvel and Pixar and all these properties that we have platforms to break artists. And, you know, we're not in the market share game like labels are, because we're not building it to sell to anyone. So I think one frustration as a manager, delivering songs that I thought were hits and maybe they didn't happen, was labels just didn't feel like they were sticking long enough with them. There was so many artists and there were so many records that could take you out from the side at any given time. That wasn't really an issue there. The roster was very small, and when you boil it down, many of the releases are soundtracks like Frozen, but we're not really going to radio with those. And you have another portion of the releases which are from the channel, and they're more Disney oriented, and I brought marketing to that segment. And then what's left is the crossover stuff. So I have this big promotion staff with not enough records to work, and I feel like I have a place that I can really grow artists, you know, and I have a great, you know, I have all these resources. We have an artist, Lizzie Ward, that I signed. We've been marketing her for 2 years, and we've just crossed 75 syncs on her album. That's a huge number. 75 syncs on her first album. And now she's playing Coachella this weekend. And a year ago, you know, there were 50, 60 people coming to her shows. So we just crossed 100,000 album. That's like a real artist development story. We've been able to grind that out and take the time, and now we're finally at a place where we can deliver a crossover single to radio. I feel like I have a few shots that I can really develop things, kind of like how I was more accustomed to it at Geffen there.
Mio, it was interesting listening to you with that answer about, you know, the artists that you signed. It makes me want to know, what is the criteria that you have for signing an act today? You know, what are the kinds of things that would really get your attention about an artist?
I'm really looking for things that will rise above the noise. You know, there's so many releases. I mean, I'm a music junkie. I always have to have whatever the newest thing is, and I'm always looking for around the corner for what's new and interesting. And but you really see just all of the chatter that's in the marketplace. And I know how hard I have to dig to find great music to just listen to as a fan. So I kind of use a little bit of the same model. I'm just looking for things that will rise above the noise that speak to me. It's funny, in the panel they were asking, you know, how do you know what a great song is? And it's sort of like the definition between art and pornography. You know it when you see it, and you kind of know when you hear it. But it's really that a voice, perhaps, that is distinctive, that I know once I've heard it once, I'll know exactly who that is. Or perhaps they have an overall sound or something interesting like that always makes them distinctive to me.
Do artists have to write their own material for you to be interested?
No.
No?
No. I mean, it's great when they can, but I think these days artists seem to be more comfortable with the idea of collaborating to make their music better. And I think maybe artists, they have to be more involved than they have in the past. You know, there was a time when you could be a band and hire a manager and they did everything and you just showed up. And you can't really do that anymore. You know, you have to be involved in your social media. You have to be involved in, you know, peeking up every month or so and asking yourself, is what I'm doing relevant? And so, yeah, I think that's kind of a vital element. People who are very proactive and resourceful are attractive to me.
Okay. What about an artist team? How important is that to you when you're considering signing an act?
It could swing it the other way.
Okay. Can you talk about that? And the importance of that as far as your job goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a case by case thing, but you know, when I have to think about pulling my whole staff and the time that it takes to devote, the man hour and the resources. I think if you feel like you have a team that is perhaps not going to be walking the same path that you are, it may fall in the life's too short category.
Very much so. I've heard that same story from many A&R people who have found exceptionally, strong, unique acts. A friend of mine years ago, who actually worked at Geffen, I won't mention him on camera, but he told this story about, he said, I found this phenomenal band and I'm not going to sign them. And I was like, what? Why not? And he said, because, I never could work with the lead singer. I just knew that. But someone will sign them and someone will have a huge success with them. I said, well, who are they? I said, it's this band called Jane's Addiction. You'll be hearing about them. And he said the same thing as you. He said it fell into the life is too short category, where he just knew someone could do it. It just wasn't going to be him. And it's a very, very important quality. People just think, well, if it's great music, people will put up with anything and any kind of behavior. And that's just not the case today. Today, you mentioned the noise, which is so prevalent in the marketplace. And I'm curious, as an A&R executive for you and your team as well, what are the sources you use to learn about talent today in a world where there's so many information sources? What are the sources you go to?
Well, I guess I really value my relationships in general that I've accumulated over the years, and it's interesting that these last 10 years being a manager of writers and producers, I feel very connected to that community, and a lot of the artist development doesn't seem to be happening from the labels or publishers anymore. And it feels like the writers and a lot of the writer camps are incubating talent better. And I find some of my most valuable, when a writer comes to me with somebody that they're developing, I take it very seriously. Perhaps more seriously than a manager or an agent coming to me with something, because I feel like, okay, well, somebody is taking the time to really curate this. And I value those relationships, and I really listen when they come to me for that. I mean, there are other sources, but that one for that reason really kind of weighs on me when they come to me.
So writers are a very strong, trusted source for you.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think that they're finding talent earlier, and they can kind of incubate it. They take the time. You mentioned Jane's Addiction, and like, when I was at Geffen, bands like Jane's Addiction and Guns N' Roses, they were huge already in LA before they got signed. They had the time. They had, they were selling out big venues. I remember Jane's Addiction doing a show at a club that I worked at, and 4,000 kids came to see them, and they were still unsigned.
Wow.
Okay. Guns we could do like 3 nights in a row at the Whiskey and have lines around the block. And that doesn't happen anymore. Like, people get signed and they haven't even played a show, right? So when a writer comes to me with someone, they've taken the time, they found somebody or two, and they've been cultivating and working on the songs. Or a band like the Janes or Guns, they were working out their songs on stage for a year. They really refined them that way. Now it's harder to do. So somebody like that comes to me, I think, okay, I bet there's going to be a higher quality coming my way. I should pay attention.
Let me ask you something. For the signings, it's so difficult today. Every decision is such a crucial decision for a signing of an artist at a label. And I'm curious, based on the nature of that, do you feel that it's necessary, or do you like to involve your marketing and promotion people in a signing that you're going to undertake, or one that you're really serious about, to get everyone's heart and soul into the right place for it? Or is that not necessary?
I don't let them weigh in on the decision, but when we're courting an artist, I like to try to demystify the label for them. Also because, when they look at a Disney, if they're coming maybe from an alternative music background, for them to really kind of see why we're different and how we're different is important. So I'll want them to meet our digital team and our marketing team and our promotion department. I really want to demystify those departments for them, but they don't weigh in and they don't have a say in what we're signing.
Okay. You know, you hear the term over the years, for many years, synergy. Disney, in my opinion, happens to be one of the very few media companies that has actually very successfully done that, where they have integrated, talent into a lot of different areas. Is that something that you feel is an important component in terms of, something you can offer artists when they come to you that no other entity can?
Absolutely. For the artists, as well as I oversee the publishing company, for the writers that we sign to the publishing company or the artists to the label side, those different platforms, the ability to, have something on an ABC or to have something in a Marvel movie or to have, a writer be able to be a part of a Frozen song or, those are things that labels don't have. They don't have those opportunities for them, and that really distinguishes us from the rest. And it's one of the reasons I was so excited about going there, because the music division is the one thing that is threaded into all the other divisions at Disney. All the divisions share music. They all have that in common, and they all have an eagerness and thirst for it. So it's one of the things that makes it so fun to be there.
And it also makes it unique from a artist, standpoint in terms of having that many outlets.
Oh, yeah.
Where other companies, even, other major companies cannot offer that breadth or that degree of talent. Mio, in your experience, what are the major mistakes that you see that, artists starting out who want to get signed make? I guess just in terms of, the most common or most unavoidable mistakes that you've seen in your experience.
Perhaps going out there too early with your music, before you really have had a chance to compare it to other things that are happening in your genre, and asking yourself questions like, is this elevating the genre that I'm in? Is my music going to rise above the other things that are happening in my genre? Most artists don't really kind of have a plan B, so they're just going for it all the time.
Right.
But it's really hard to, and I understand how it would be hard to censor yourself like that. But I think, if you're a band taking the time to try to build something, and to use your online presence as feedback for your music as well. It's not just something to put your music out. I think it's a way to get feedback. I use it for that all the time. I think if you're an artist, you should do that. You should use what you're promoting online and really study what the reactions are and use the feedback to your advantage before you go out to say, okay, I'm going to start knocking on labels' doors.
In your opinion, what are the qualities that make a great A&R executive? What qualities do you feel they possess?
I think they have to have a great bedside manner with artists. I think they have to be I think you have to be the kind of person that can put your ego aside and work on behalf of someone else's dream, and have a really good command of what great is, what great songs are, and how to make records. I think the one thing that we're missing in the music business is there's really no apprenticeship anymore for people to learn their craft. I was really lucky that I had an independent label and I had to make records on my own dime. So I had to learn haphazardly the ins and outs of making records at that level. And then I got to be at Geffen Records. And then when I was at Geffen, you know, I got to be under the tutelage of people like John Kolodner, who would let me just sit in the room and listen to them talk and watch their process. And I just got to just observe it and just see how methodical and what it took to kind of make great records. And I don't know if there's that generosity of executives giving their time to the younger A&R talent to sort of, you know, nurture and cultivate them like you would an artist. Like, wow, this person's got something. Let's just take our time instead of, okay, here's a budget, make a record, come back to me, and let's hear the hit. That's really not the way to train somebody, you know?
No, I totally agree.
So I think that kind of, maybe that generosity of time and tutelage is what I'm wishing more.
Some really great food for thought with Mio regarding getting signed to one of the leading entertainment companies in the world, the Walt Disney Music Group. So, insiders, question of the day. From this video, what were the most interesting revelations that you found valuable in our conversation with Mio? Was it his views on an artist's ability to write their own material? Or was it the various options that he can offer an artist when they sign with Disney? Or was it what it takes to be a great A&R person in his view? Do you have any ideas or experiences that you'd like to share regarding this topic? We'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. In addition, we recently put together a free guide on the best strategies to use when contacting A&R executives. This is extremely important before beginning your journey. So, if you're interested in receiving it, we included a link to that in the description below. It's totally free, and it goes through the top do's and don'ts before you even think about reaching out to A&R. Questions such as asking yourself, is my music 100% ready to go? Making sure you don't include attachments of any kind in your email. Only direct links to either your Spotify or SoundCloud account, and much, much more. This is an incredibly crucial guide into learning the art and etiquette of connecting with the A&R community. So, if you're interested in receiving that, we'll link to it in the description below. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the YouTube description as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.